One, fear of silence. You're terrified of the quiet, not because you're introspective, but because your inner world is a wilderness you never learned to navigate. Silence feels like exposure. It unveils your doubts, your loneliness, your stifled self. So you fill the void with conversation, company, connection, anything to avoid the echo of your own existence. But in doing so, you invite noise into your soul. You confuse presence with peace. 2, fear of invisibility. You believe your value depends on being chosen. If you aren't in someone else's world, you fear you don't belong in your own. So you mold, adapt, appease. You show up not as yourself, but as something you think they'll want. And when that something breaks under pressure, so do you left feeling unseen in a relationship that never truly saw you. 3, fear of abandonment. Every first date feels like a delicate balance. You guard your heart, waiting for the silent click that it's safe, but fear silent, lethal follows. So you rush intimacy, you over-explain, you share too much, you sacrifice your boundaries on the altar of maybe they'll stay if I let them in too fast. And when they eventually leave, because fear-driven motives never hold, you're left convinced that your absence of self invites abandonment. 4, fear of loss of control. Aloneness feels like chaos. No one else's timeline to follow. No script to memorize. You fear that if you let go, you'll float untethered, nobody watching, nobody caring. So you cling. You hold too tight. You try to orchestrate their responses, their approval, their presence. But control isn't connection, it's a cage. And the walls shrink around your heart until there's nothing left. 5, fear of facing yourself. The most dangerous fear of all is what surfaces if you're truly alone. The voice you shut down, the dreams you tamed, the wounds you ignored. So you fill your life with couples things, from playlists to plans to avoid the prospect of undoing who you've become. Yet, each forced we feels hollow, because you never allowed the essential question, who am I without you? These fears don't drive you toward love, they drive you toward replacement, seeking someone not for connection but for escape. And in that desperation lies the tragedy. A soul inhabited by the wrong person is still uninhabited by themselves. But the path out isn't another date, it's a return. Asterisk, sit with the silence, even if your bones tremble in the cavern of your own being. Asterisk, ask the hard question, what parts of me have I sacrificed just to be with someone? Asterisk, learn your boundaries, not to push people away, but to anchor yourself in your truth. Asterisk, commit to the endless becoming of you, whether anyone else stays or goes. Because the opposite of fear isn't safety, it's presence. Presence with yourself, presence with your own voice, presence with your own pain and possibility. When you cultivate presence alone, you stop running towards someone who soothes your fear, and you begin walking towards someone who honors your full being. That's when the wrong door closes, so the right one can open. And when it does, it won't feel like filling a hole. It will feel like returning home. And here's what no one tells you. When you finally stop searching for someone to complete the silence, when you begin to sit in the loneliness, not as a punishment, but as a purification, something ancient awakens in you. You start to remember who you were before the world told you you needed someone else to be enough. The first time you walk through the fire of solitude, it burns, it aches, it breaks you open. But beneath the ashes of codependency and performative love, something sacred is waiting to rise. The self that never begged to be chosen because it chose itself. You will begin to see with new eyes. The wrong people, once magnetic, will repulse you. The drama that used to spark adrenaline will now feel like poison. The patterns you mistook for passion will finally show their true face, wounding dressed as affection. And in the stillness, in the deep, undistracted mirror of your solitude, you'll meet the person you've abandoned the longest. You'll laugh not because it's funny, but because it's freeing. You'll cry not from pain, but from the relief of finally not performing. You'll realize that solitude wasn't loneliness, it was sovereignty. And the love you were seeking wasn't lost, it was buried beneath your fear. So when love does come, because it will, you won't need it, you'll choose it. And that is the difference between slavery and sovereignty, between addiction and devotion, between needing someone to fix you and choosing someone who sees you. You are not here to be someone's escape. You are not here to be someone's patchwork solution to their unlived life. You are here to stand fully in your soul's radiance. And when another meets you there, not as a rescuer, but as a reflection, you will know that the deepest love begins not when someone says, I want you, but when you finally say to yourself, I am mine. And that is the kind of love that never abandons, never betrays, and never begs. It simply becomes, because becoming isn't an act, it's a remembering. It's remembering that you were not born craving permission to exist. You were not born afraid of being alone. You were taught that love was oxygen and abandonment was death. But love is not oxygen, you are. And when you finally stand in your own lungs, when you breathe not to keep someone else close, but to fill your own chest with fire, you become untouchable. Not hard, not closed, but whole. Because there is nothing more seductive than a person who doesn't need your approval to feel alive. Nothing more magnetic than a soul that doesn't bend to be liked. Nothing more powerful than a heart that knows how to hold itself. This is your liberation. Not from loneliness, but from the illusion that loneliness is something to fear. Not from heartbreak, but from the addiction to relationships that echo your childhood wounds. Not from people, but from the internalized belief that your worth is something they get to decide. Let the silence be your altar. Let the emptiness be your initiation. Let the time alone be your teacher, not because you are broken, but because you are becoming unbreakable. And when they ask, why are you so at peace being alone? You will smile, not with arrogance, but with knowing. Because you'll have seen what it's like to trade your soul for company. You'll have tasted the hollow sweetness of being chosen at the cost of your truth. And you'll never again make yourself small enough to fit inside someone else's fear of intimacy. You'll know that real love does not arrive to save you. It arrives when you've already saved yourself. And from that place, from that sacred sovereign place, everything changes. Because the truth is, when you finally stop searching for someone to fill your emptiness, when you stop handing out the blueprint of your soul, hoping someone else will build it for you, you begin the most sacred construction of all. The rebuilding of your inner kingdom. Brick by brick, truth by truth, scar by scar, you learn to walk through the ruins of who you once were and touch every fracture without flinching. You learn that silence doesn't mean something is missing, it means something is arriving. You. The you who is no longer distracted by noise masquerading as love. The you who no longer mistakes obsession for passion or abandonment for fate. The you who understands that solitude isn't a punishment, it's a purification. And suddenly, you don't crave the validation of people who never saw you clearly. You don't run toward relationships that are built on fear and fantasy. You don't dim your light to be less intimidating to those who fear their own reflection. Instead, you stand in the raw, beautiful wildness of your becoming. You stand in the place where loneliness turns into sovereignty and fear dissolves into clarity, where you no longer beg to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the chapter you were always meant to write, the one where your wholeness isn't a performance, it's your natural state. And now, finally, you're free. You're free to love without chains, free to speak without shrinking, free to walk away not because you're cold, but because you finally understand your energy is a temple, not a marketplace. You no longer entertain chaos and call it chemistry. You no longer sacrifice your peace on the altar of someone else's unpredictability. You no longer twist yourself into the shape of who they need because you've remembered what you forgot. That love without self-abandonment is the only kind worth keeping. And now, every time you're alone, it's no longer loneliness, it's intimacy with your own spirit. Every time you rest, it's no longer idleness. It's the warrior returning from battle. Every time you say no, it's no longer rejection, it's protection. You are no longer starving for breadcrumbs of affection from people who can't even feed themselves. You're not here to convince, to chase, or to beg. You're here to rise, to reclaim, to return. And in that return lies your revolution. So go, not to prove anything, not to earn your worth, but because your soul has waited long enough to finally feel at home in you. Because the most radical thing you can do in a world built on masks is to be real, to walk without pretense, to love without clinging, to live without apology. They taught you that being alone meant something was wrong with you, but what if being alone was the only place you could finally hear your true voice? What if the emptiness you feared was actually space? Space to breathe, to rebuild, to remember that your value never lived in someone else's ability to choose you. It lived in your ability to choose yourself again and again and again until every cell in your body vibrated with the truth. You don't need to be chosen. You are the choice. So take the weight off. Let the old fears dissolve. Let the old version of you fall into the ashes. And from those ashes, rise not with noise, not with drama, but with an unshakable silence that says, I remember who I am now, and I will never go back to forgetting, because this is not just a recovery, this is a resurrection. This is the quiet revolution of coming back home to yourself, without needing permission, without needing applause, without asking anyone to understand. Let the ones who misunderstood you keep their versions. Let the ones who left you go. Let the ones who could only love your silence keep their distance. You are no longer shrinking for spaces that could never hold you. You are no longer explaining your light to those addicted to shadows. Because once you've tasted the freedom of being whole, truly whole, not patched up for performance, not stitched for survival, but whole in your wounds, whole in your wonder, whole in your wildness, you will never again settle for the half-life they tried to sell you. This is your return to the untamed, unbothered, unapologetically real self that was buried beneath every layer of false belonging. And now that you found it, now that you remember, there is no turning back, only forward, only fire, only truth, only truth. Because truth doesn't scream, it doesn't demand, it doesn't seek validation in a world that thrives on masks. Truth waits quietly, powerfully, like a lion in stillness, not because it lacks strength, but because it knows. It knows what you forgot, that you were never here to fit in, you were here to wake up, to burn through illusions, to rip through inherited guilt, to stop bowing to borrowed shame. You were here to break the lineage of people-pleasing and self-abandonment, to interrupt the cycle where love was earned instead of felt. Every time you said yes to something that choked your spirit, your truth dimmed. Every time you betrayed your gut to avoid conflict, your truth drowned a little more. Until one day your reflection didn't recognize you, not because you changed, but because you hid for too long. But the hiding ends now. No more contorting to be lovable. No more performing to be accepted. No more mistaking survival for a life. You are not here to impress. You are here to ignite. You are not here to be light. You are here to liberate. You are not here to fit a mold. You are here to melt it down and shape the sacred out of your scars. So rise not with perfection, but with power. Rise not with answers, but with authenticity. Rise not to prove, but to exist fully, furiously, and finally freely. Because the only permission slip you ever needed was your own. And now breathe. Breathe not just with your lungs, but with your entire being. Feel the weight of every silent moment you carried alone. Every "I'm fine" that was a scream in disguise. Every nod you gave when your soul was shaking its head. These were not failures. These were fragments of your awakening. You didn't lose your truth. It was buried beneath expectations that were never yours. Beneath roles, you were forced to play, beneath the fear of being too much or not enough. But the soul cannot be silenced forever, and now it begins to roar again. This isn't about fixing yourself. This is about finding yourself, the self that danced before shame was taught, the self that spoke before judgment made you doubt, the self that existed before you were told how to be. Let that version of you come home. Let them speak, even if their voice trembles. Let them move, even if the world stares. Let them exist, even if no one claps. Because your existence was never meant to be an audition. It was meant to be an eruption of truth, of fire, of freedom. So don't just return to who you were. Evolve into who you were meant to be, raw, real, radiant. This is not the end of your story. It's the moment you start writing it yourself. And from this moment on, let it burn with truth. Stand tall, not in the way the world taught you with its hollow pride and borrowed personas, but in the way your soul always wanted to. Shoulders unburdened by apology, eyes that do not flinch from their own reflection, a spine that curves not for conformity, but carries conviction. Because the moment you stopped abandoning yourself, the world lost its grip on you. You see, the power was never in their approval. It was in your alignment. And now that you've tasted it, even just a drop, you'll never be satisfied with a life of pretending again. Let them misunderstand you. Let them label you. Let them watch you walk away from everything that once felt like safety. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be undeniable. And if they don't recognize the fire in you, it's only because they've forgotten their own. So ignite it, not with rage, but with resolve. Not with noise, but with presence. From this day forward, be the person you needed when the world tried to tame you. The one who didn't shrink. The one who remembered. The one who burned the mask and rose in truth. Because that's not just your healing. That's your revolution. Because your revolution isn't loud, it's sacred. It doesn't scream to be seen. It shifts the atmosphere by existing. You don't need to announce who you are anymore. You simply walk in alignment, and the world adjusts. People either rise to meet you or fall away. Both are a blessing. You weren't born to chase connection by betraying yourself. You were born to attract truth by becoming it. And the moment you start living like your soul is the authority, you become a mirror exposing illusions, inviting awakenings, and triggering the very people still hiding from themselves. But that's not your burden. Your job is to stay lit in a world that profits from your dimness, to stay sovereign in a world that feeds off your obedience, to stay whole in a world that taught you to splinter just to belong. And if your light feels heavy, remember, it's not because you're too much, it's because the world is used to shadows. But you didn't come here to blend in. You came here to break cycles, to defy the patterns passed down in silence, to stop the generational scripts from writing your story. You came here to live unedited, to love uncaged, to breathe without permission. So don't just remove the mask, destroy it, because what's waiting underneath isn't just your truth, it's your liberation. And when you finally stand there stripped of masks, unchained from roles, untethered from who the world told you to be, you'll feel it. The quiet pulse of your original self still alive, still burning beneath the ashes of conformity, still whispering, remember me. And you will, not as a version seeking validation, but as a force sculpted by fire. Because every wound was not the end, it was a door. Every rejection was not loss, it was redirection. And every collapse was not failure, it was the earth clearing space for your becoming. So let them misunderstand you. Let them question your silence. Let them call your solitude strange. Because your healing will not always be loud. Your evolution will not be digestible. Your truth will not fit into the small cages they built for your approval. But your freedom, it will echo for generations. So take the broken pieces, the buried rage, the forgotten dreams, and build a cathedral out of them, a sanctuary where your soul can finally breathe. This is your homecoming, not to the world, but to yourself. Welcome back. Welcome back to the self you buried to survive, the self you silenced to be accepted, the self you abandoned to be loved. But now you return, not with apologies, but with fire. The kind of fire that doesn't ask for permission. It reclaims, it resurrects, it reminds, this is not the end of your pain, this is the end of pretending it didn't matter. You are not here to shrink for the comfort of others. You are not here to live the dream they had for you while your own turns to dust. You are here to remember what it feels like to belong to no one but you. You are here to reclaim your wildness, to walk through every door they closed with the thunder of someone who no longer asks but chooses. This is not healing that makes you palatable. This is healing that makes you dangerous. Because when you become whole, you become free. And when you become free, no one can use your fear to control you again. You've returned, not as the version the world taught you to be, but as the wild, untamed essence you were before fear took root in your soul. This isn't the end of your pain. It's the end of pretending it never existed. You no longer shrink to fit into someone else's comfort. You no longer walk a path just because it's safe, when safety costs you your soul. You are here to remember who you were when you stopped performing. You are here to reclaim the parts of you that were silenced, exiled, or labeled too much. This is not healing that makes you more likable. This is healing that makes you dangerous. Because once you are whole, you cannot be controlled. And once you are fearless, you can no longer be imprisoned. Not by parents, not by society, not by the echoes of your past. You burned the mask, and now you walk as the one you were always meant to be, the unedited, undeniable, unbreakable self, unapologetically, unsagably, finally free.